Hello one and all, and welcome to Behind the Glass. I'm your host, Sam, from the YouTube channel Seen Through Glass.
And I'm Tony from Gravelwood Car Sales.
Yes, you are. Each week we get together, we talk about cars, motorsport, F1, what else? Cars? We talk about cars. You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. You can watch us on youtube.com/Behind the Glass. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. And Tony, if people want to support this podcast, what should they do?
Watch it.
No. But also head to Patreon. You can support us on patreon.com/Behind the Glass. Thanks for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed the episode. Tony, we have another guest. We're on a roll.
We are, yeah.
Maybe we just don't like spending time together that much.
Sorry, it's not Paul Wallace.
It's not. I know he was so popular last week.
I know.
I know.
It does annoy us.
No, it does annoy us a lot. But anyway, it's not Paul, as you mentioned, because it's Mike from Motech.
Hi.
Thank you so much for coming down. We're very well. We're very pleased to have you here.
Yeah, thank you very much.
It's always nice to have someone else that breaks up the chat between Tony and I.
Some professionalism.
Some professionalism. You can't even say the word.
No. Do not know about that, but we shall see what happens.
We shall see what happens. Anyway, we've got lots to talk about today. But, Tony, it's our last episode before our summer break.
I know.
Woo,
but we're not going on holiday together, are we?
No, we're not going on holiday together, but we are taking some time off, which is, I think it's
fair.
It's fair. So, in case you missed last week's episode, essentially for a couple of weeks now, Tony and I are going to step away. Season 4 of the podcast is going to end, and we'll be back with Season 5 at the start of September with our first September live event. We've got 2 in September, on the 5th and on the 12th.
So a week after each other.
Yeah, back-to-back live episodes. We're nearly sold out. There are still some tickets remaining. If you bought your tickets for either event ages ago, basically pre-August the 3rd, you're all set. You don't need anything else. You've got your Rate My Ride parking. You've got your access to the event. Just sit there and wait for the event to happen. If you haven't yet purchased a ticket, then you need to buy a standard ticket, which gets you access. Then if you want to be in the Rate My Ride section, you've got to buy that in addition.
How many spaces
I think they're all sold out.
Well, I was going to say, I bet they're
so
all
I'm not
sold
sure
out
why I'm
now,
promoting that. I think they're all sold out. But anyway, so super exciting. So this is our final episode for Season 4. And I think it's going to be a great way to go out with Mike right here, ready and raring to go.
I'm just wondering why we're not doing a Rate My Ride on something I could have brought down, but I didn't.
Yeah, that would have been, but then would we have been Tony might have been insulting something you did. I would have been awkward, I think. Yeah.
Probably.
I always say to people, you think you want Tony to rate your ride, you just don't.
No. And we've actually been very unprofessional, actually, because you introduced him as Mike from Motech. Would you like to tell the ladies and gentlemen what Motech does?
I am Mike from Motech, so thank you very much.
I was going to get onto that. I wasn't literally going to leave it but no, well done, Tony. Let's just jump straight in with that.
I am. Yeah, so I am Mike from Motech, so thank you very much for that. And thank you very much for...
It's 3 times we've said it.
Okay, should we do one more?
I'm not going to keep saying
It's not a Motech show.
They know that.
We sell OEM Plus modifications, which is probably what we can have a conversation about. So springs, exhaust, add-on body styling, wheels, that sort of stuff.
Tuning?
Generally, we do a little bit of tuning, not as much as we used to. It's a bit of a sort of changing market. I think people maybe a bit skeptical, and a lot of dealers are locking things out. So, but definitely sort of bolt-on modifications is the most popular things we tend to do.
We could talk about that.
Yeah, because when we teased it last week, we did say, because we were talking then about things like Rolls-Royce Black Badge, and the fact that you made a good point, Tony, that a lot of these manufacturers now are sort of doing, PTS, paint to sample for Porsche, or ad personam for Lamborghini.
They're all in on it.
They're all in on it. The fact that, wrapping became so popular, manufacturers are having to respond to that. And so, but we're seeing it across the board. And that's kind of what we've been wanting to talk about for a few weeks now. The fact that I think, at least here in the UK, modifications in any shape or form are becoming more and more popular. 10, 15 years ago, it was a little bit shunned, looked down on, wasn't it?
Well, it was always sort of 10, 15 years ago. It's probably max power days, which is always a bit of a thing that a certain audience didn't necessarily want their car to look like. But now we all want it to look a bit more developed or enhanced, more than the guy that, the next guy that is not really interested in cars can buy. So let's say PTS or wrapping or whatever it may be. I mean, even BMW now have just introduced different colour brake calipers, but they can charge a fortune for it, where most times before you just go to like a local body shop and just say, I want a red or black, but they're not. They're seeing gaps in markets and then, making money.
Speaking about charging a lot for different colour brake calipers, I can speak from experience with that, because I just got out of course, the 992 GT3, which is what I was hyping up last week on this show. I just spent a week in it in Wales, and that had black brake calipers, but optioned.
But silver wheels, though.
Silver wheels, which made a huge difference. Well. Yeah. And I'm just going to remind myself now, because I'm pretty sure, Tony, do you know this off the top of your head, brake caliper pricing? for Porsche?
400 quid.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure it's 450 quid,
That's crazy.
which is a joke. I'm just going to see if I can literally find it
But
right
you
now.
get you get the Porsche logo in the brakes. I mean,
Brake calipers, £581.
Plus VAT.
no, that'd be including.
That'll be
Okay.
included. I mean, so yes, manufacturers are doing it left, right, and centre. But anyway, let's not talk about how expensive that car is. Let's talk about how
much was that
incredible
car,
it is.
by the way?
The one that I drove?
Yeah.
Give me 2 seconds. Let me do
They
a little
must
bit.
have given you the list price.
Yeah, of course.
Was it a fully optioned car? It looked fully optioned.
It was aggressively optioned.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what was.
And it was manual, wasn't it?
It was a manual
Was that
car.
cheaper than PDK?
Yes.
Oh.
It'd be a couple of grand.
A couple of grand, exactly. So the list price, oh, no, super cheap, 137,709. So what were they missing on that then? Let me tell you, I'm going to talk you through
ceramics.
Here we go. You're about to find out. I actually think not. I think steels. Right. That'll be the big saving. So 911 GT3 starts at £123,000.
Yep.
Shark blue paint, 2.5 grand.
Yep.
Leather interior with contrasting shark blue,
Yep.
800 quid. Paint protection film, 210 quid. Chrono package including preparation for lap timer, 330 quid. Brake calipers, 581 quid. Front lift, £2,200 for front lift.
Yeah, they all do that. Loads
That's
of money
extortionate.
Front lift.
Tyre sealing, something. So PDLS Plus in black, 2.5 grand. Automatically dimming mirrors, 387 quid. Park assist, 870 quid. Full bucket seats, nearly 4 grand. Fire extinguisher, 135 quid. And seatbelts in shark blue.
Oh,
So
right.
yeah, it's actually not spec to the nines. And also, can I just say, carbon ceramics, I don't think it's needed.
On the road, maybe?
I don't think it was needed. I never at one point thought I need a little bit more brake performance.
Oh, mate, I don't know about that. I think you got to have ceramics on a GT3.
Really?
I
Even if
think
you're never
so,
going
yeah.
on track? Or people say, though, isn't it, that you should have ceramics off track and steels on track, don't they?
Yeah, I would always have ceramics on a GT product car, me personally, because if you, especially not so much in this country, but if you're in Europe and you go on a trip, when you get going and you're in the Alps, you do need them. They would fade off because it's so hot in other countries as well. So, yeah, if you're planning doing road trips or track days,
I'm really pressing on.
and really pushing on, yeah, maybe not in this country, but there is a difference in braking power as well. By the way, you know, the ceramics will definitely grab better.
Oh, I'm sure. If
Yeah.
not, be maybe a touch too grabby.
Yeah, the only thing with ceramics, they squeak a lot as well.
Yeah.
They do squeak a lot, but yeah, they're a lot more grabby as ceramic brake.
On the M4s, some of them, the F series, you could have had ceramics. We're now seeing people email in wanting to take the ceramics off.
Really?
Steels them. Yeah, because now, if you imagine like a 14, 15 plate car,
Yeah.
it gets quite expensive to replace.
That's a terrible ceramic brake though, BMW.
Is it?
It's nowhere near. Yeah, it's nowhere near as good as a Porsche.
And
Nowhere
also, on a car like that, is it not a bit overkill?
near. Yeah.
Yeah,
potentially.
that's probably why people wanted to come out of them.
Can you flip the other way, though? Could you go from steels to carbon ceramics? It would be extortionately expensive, I'm assuming, but...
I wouldn't know.
Do what you like.
Yeah, I suppose you could retrofit it, but
Why
you'd have to have
not?
the dealer to adjust, maybe like you say, the brake pedal, you know, the feel of it.
The caliper sizes, I think, are the same. I think the pad and the discs are different, but the size of the caliper, I think, would still be the same. So, but there's plenty of companies out there, I'm sure BMW and all makes, that will make a ceramic brake for it. You can get bespoke ceramic.
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, you can start playing around with it, but as
They're
you were
cheaper.
just... Well, yeah, but you were attesting to a second ago, the Porsche ones are some of the best in the game.
They
right?
are,
You know?
yeah.
Well, I'm talking about some of the best in the game. Let's just talk about that car because we haven't talked about it yet. And even you and I, Tony, haven't talked about this car yet. Though we had a couple of WhatsApp messages where I sent you some pictures saying, this is the best car in the world. And you went, duh.
Which infuriates me because you
Why?
always say this. This is unbelievable! But I don't think you realise how good the old car was. Like, they're always unbelievable GT cars. And I bet it's only a tiny bit better than the old car. It's just because you haven't been in there or driven the old car for a while. So I bet if you got in the old 991 now, you'd go, oh my God, this is still unbelievable.
Oh, it's literally what I said to a friend of mine because a friend of mine has got a manual 991.2 GT3.
Yeah.
And he sent me a message saying what it's like. And I said, it's brilliant, but I'd be so interested right now to do the exact trip I just did in the previous generation because I do wonder like how much does it move forward? And how much of it is this the fact that GT3s are brilliant, and always have been?
Would you want to do the same trip again in the touring to see if there's a difference?
Well, okay, so here's the thing. For the 992 iteration, the touring literally just doesn't have a wing.
Oh, is that it?
That's it. There's literally not for the latest version. It just doesn't have a wing, so you use a little bit less aero. But apart from that, I was driving a manual car. You know, the steel brakes. So that was probably a touring spec, just with a big old wing on the back. All I would say, yes, you're right, Tony. I haven't spent that much time, firstly in a long time, but also in general, in a manual GT3. We did the trip in the GT3 RS to Ireland. That was probably the most time I spent in the previous generation. And I have spent a day in a PDK or a manual 991.2. Yeah. But this was a week. The things that I would pick up on, the front end is now so aggressively pointy.
Yeah.
It took me half a day, maybe even a day to calibrate my brain around that. Like
Ferrari sharp?
It's Ferrari sharp.
Okay, fair
it is just, you have to think about how to turn into a corner. Because if you turn
steering?
in, yeah, again, so I would say that it followed the bumps and the worse than the old generation.
That's the rose joint.
It was more frantic at the front end. So on a smooth road, it was unbelievable. The car felt brilliant. The minute it was a slightly bumpy surface, it was a bit, and the wheel was moving around a lot in my hands.
Like the RS of the old generation.
Maybe.
Like the ruts in the road, you know, on the motorway, and you can see like the grooves where the lorries have been. If you're in the slow lane, did it?
Tramline a bit, so it was definitely way more frantic at the front. I think a lot of the early reviews talked about the ride being a lot stiffer in general. The car was stiffer. It felt more race car-like. Oh, God, Porsche going to kill me for saying this? No, I'm going to say it. So apparently the early car that came over that everyone reviewed was fitted with some prototype, some development dampers and springs. It wasn't the final production version. And that's why they were still a bit too stiff. And when the touring came along for everyone to review, they were like, "Oh, it's so much more road compliant." They're like, "No, this is how it's. This is the production."
Car. Yeah.
So I got into it thinking like, "Oh, it's going to be way too stiff." It's not. It's still a very nice road car. Yes, it's stiff, but it's not brittle.
Yeah.
So it's stiff, but it's not brittle. So you're not like bumping around the place. It's firm where it needs to be. I did spend most of the week with the softer suspension setting though. You know,
there is a softer suspension.
You got everything now. You got a Manatino. Well, it's not called a Manatino in a Porsche.
I know what you mean, though.
Porsche Drive Select or whatever. Yeah. So normal sport track, and then you've also got the Magna Ride. I'm not using all the
adaptive suspension.
Thank you. Yeah. So I always turn that off. I was always in the softer setting,
which is fine for the road. I bet, mate. Because I remember when we went to Ireland in the AMG and the 3RS, we both agreed that the 3RS was too bumpy for the road.
Yeah, too stiff, too bumpy.
It was really stiff, yeah. And I bet that's what this new car
It didn't, but that's the thing is, it didn't know. Like I went into that thinking that it was going to be like a 3RS or just too uncomfortable. I was a little bit nervous about the trip I'd set up. Not at all. And even Vicky came to join me for one night of the trip. And she's the first person to slag off a bumpy ride. And
your driving?
Yeah, that too. She does always. Does that happen in most people's relationship? Like there'll be like a hole in the road that I cannot avoid, and the car will hit it, and she'll go, "Oh, babe," and I'm like,
they aim for it.
I'm like, what do you think? I can't avoid that. That's a bump in the. Anyway, long story short, so I got distracted there. Yeah, it's not that stiff, so it's still a very nice place to be. Could you daily one? Yes. Would you want to? You got it's still a proper sports car. Mm-hmm. The thing that surprised me was the manual, because we've spoken about this a lot on the channel.
7-speed?
6-speed.
Oh.
So the normal Carrera is 7-speed,
okay,
but the GT product says 6-speed. And we've spoken a lot this year about how nowadays modern supercars maybe don't suit manual gearboxes anymore. They're often overpowered or too electric, or you just get more out of the car with an automatic gearbox. I didn't think that was true with the GT3. I still really enjoyed driving a manual GT3. And maybe that's because the power didn't increase massively, only 10 horsepower over the last generation. So it's still applicable, 500 horsepower on the road. And it's such a good manual gearbox, that 6-speed manual. It's so good. It feels fantastic. It's easy to use, easy to drive. And it made the car engaging at every point of the rev range. I didn't feel like I always needed to get to 9,000 RPM.
Is that because of the car it is? Because you were talking about the M2 maybe not being the best manual. But an M2 is obviously turbocharged. It has a torque delivery, which the normally aspirated car doesn't have. So maybe you can use more of the power for rev range. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think, as I say, I was happy and enjoyed changing gear at 5,000 RPM as much as I did at 9.
Okay.
You know, it's just such a nice feel, and that engine sounded amazing, and there was just always performance there. It never lacked in torque. The only time when it did was like a 6th gear, and I was like, oh, okay, I got to go down. You know,
at 30 mile an hour.
Yeah,
it's
only
not turbocharged though.
Yeah.
So yeah, insanely positive, as everyone would expect, and I should have expected. One weird thing that happened here, and I need to speak to Porsche about it. So awful weather I had during my trip. It's got big aggressive front radiator now, doesn't it? Where the So that you know where it opens up, and on the touring they're painted better. So a couple of times, either going uphill or on the particularly cold and wet days, the front radiator was steaming a ton.
They all do it, mate.
Really?
My RS used to do it. My GT3 used to do it. They all do it.
So why? Because it's open, and then because the water gets in there. It scared the bejesus.
So I used to pull up.
Seen it, yeah.
I'd never seen it, mate.
I used to pull up at lights sometimes, especially if it was raining, and my windscreen would steam. Smoke pillowing out the front. Yeah, and you think, oh no, I've got a stone through the rad or something like that.
Yeah.
But no, it's common.
Normal. I was literally reaching for the fire extinguisher, going up
That's
the hill.
Yeah.
I was going up this hill behind this really slow truck, and I was like, that's a bit misty. And I was like, oh my God. And this was like smoke, like pillowing out the front of the car, and I was like, and there was nowhere to pull over because it was like a tiny narrow pass. I was like, where's the fire extinguisher? And I was like looking for the Porsche emergency call, and I pulled over and then just stopped. I was like,
you know, there's actually nothing to catch fire at the front, by the way.
No, but I didn't know. Like, mate, there's smoke. There's smoke pouring off the front of the car. I'm like, this isn't. I mean, I'm not in a McLaren, but come on, like, this is not right. It scared the hell out of me. Okay, good to know this over generation. What a GT3 amateur I am over here. Do you know that, Mike? Did you know that?
I do now.
Yeah. So yeah, we're not all like Tony. But why do I feel, Tony, that you're a little bit reserved about this car?
Well, one, because I haven't driven it, and two, I know being that I've had a few generations of GT3s now, they're always just so good anyway, and then they never make big changes to them, because how can they? They have to make room for the next one. So one, I knew it was going to be good straight away because the old generation was good. It was unbelievable, actually. And how much better can the new generation be? They probably can make it a lot better, but why were they shooting themselves in the foot? So I just know what it's going to be.
So so therefore you're like, it's just going to be a slightly better version of the car that I had.
Which is why I didn't order one, because I'll wait for the RS, because I think that will be much better than
another big step.
Than the previous RS, because there's no GT2 coming on the 992 either, because they skip us every 10 years normally, GT2. So the free RS will be the car. So
sorry, the current GT3 that you just had last week, does that borrow bits from the GT3 RS previous generation?
Yeah, so what they do is, so they'll put like it's got the rose joint suspension on it. You'll probably find it'll probably have upgraded brakes, similar, but I think they're probably 10 pot on them now, like they are with the some of the Lambos and stuff. So they'll just like
pinch the good bits.
Pinch like some bits from the previous car. So I think that the next RS will be like variant like a Manthey current RS.
Right.
That's what it will be.
I think you've said something similar before,
Yeah, that's normally what they do.
And that's the big focus with this car, isn't it? That's what they've been talking about, is that for this latest generation, it's all really about the aero.
Yeah.
And you can see the diffuser around the back is aggressive in that car. It is huge. So I think that's their big focus, which makes the touring an even more interesting proposition, because you take that away and suddenly, what have you got? But then theoretically a more road appropriate car, I suppose.
And that all comes from the motorsport, which is why I know they don't do F1 with the big downforces, but they do a lot of, they've got their own race
endurance
series.
racing and
Correct.
Well, we're going to talk about in 2 seconds the 2 RS Clubsport that's just come out.
Yeah, fair.
All to celebrate Manthey racing. But yeah, I mean, okay, I get where you're coming from. We knew what to expect. It's a GT3. It's always going to be great. It's always going to be a little bit better than the last one. I do want you to have a go at some point, because I want to know your thoughts on that front end. Because as I say, I was a bit at the beginning. I was like, so I went and I watched. Who did I watch? I watched some video, and I was relieved when they said, "Oh, the front end is a bit like it's so point." I was like, okay, it's not just me. So yeah, I'd be intrigued to hear your thoughts on that.
I think the tyres as well are different on the new car compared to the old car.
I think Cup 2s in the rain. That scared the bitches. Even Mike's like, you are.
Yeah, you're crazy.
Yeah.
I think on the old car, I think there were 20s all round on the 991.2, but I think on this current
1920 or
there'll be
2020?
20, 21.
Rear,
Yeah. So it's the first time they've done it on a GT3. So
Offset.
Yeah, they offset, so that means the tyre would be bigger, so it probably have a better turn-in for that reason as well. And the rose joint suspension will be the big one.
And it gives the car a little bit of a rake, actually. So yeah, here you go. You're right, 20 and 21 inch.
Yeah.
The car looks like a little bit more aggressively
do,
tipping down towards the
and
front.
I know I'm a really big Porsche fan, and I always like to say that they are the best, but they always sit really lovely on the road. GT3s,
the
like
wheel gap.
they sit.
Surely, like
stance,
I was say, but Mike, that must be half of your job or your life is the gap between the top of the tyre and then the bodywork, because Ferraris are some of the worst at it. But Lambo, but it makes such a difference to the overall visuals, isn't it? When that gap is so perfect,
just dropping it down. Yeah, that's what we mainly do. Is when people will buy a car and they just can't live with that gap. But then when you see, like you say, a GT3 RS, people use that and go, "That's what I want my M2 to kind of look like as much as they can." But yeah, they do nail it right. Porsche have got it summed up. When I was at Goodwood, I saw the Touring, the dark blue with the silver wheels, and it's just perfect. It's
like a well-fitted suit.
But that's 40 years of engineering as well, because it's an engineering thing as well. And Ferraris don't all sit like that because they got different steering, so it's really direct and quick. So if they sat that low and had an aggressive setup like a GT car, because you have towing and stuff on a GT car. If that was in a Ferrari, mate, they'd crash loads more than what that, because they already do. They already do, but they have neutral camber.
Ferraris. Play it safe, don't they?
They
because
play
the
it
audience
safe.
is selling to it.
Yeah. Whereas a GT car doesn't. It has
really
positive and yeah.
Well, you're not the only person that I think is waiting for, potentially excited about the 3RS. I was speaking to another friend who's very tied into the Porsche world. He said that 3RS is probably going to be the one that would excite him, is the one that's going to have a load more potential. But he was talking about all these other special models that we know about or that we've been seeing leaked. So the sort of theoretically the Sport Classic, which is coming back. We last saw the 997 with the ducktail.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be a turbo. So I think that's going to be a turbo ducktail or something like that, whether it's called a Sport Classic or not, but that's kind of the vibe. And then we've obviously got the Safari as well, which is the
that's cool.
Raised 992 platform, and the long-awaited 4RS. God knows when that. I mean, that's supposed to have come out a year and a half ago.
That'll be the car. They'll have a GT3 engine in it, 500 horsepower, properly set up, rear mid-engine car. That'll be a proper bit of kit, that thing.
So lots of exciting stuff coming from Porsche. And then, as I say, they just released this 2 RS Clubsport 25, which is apparently a huge celebration of Manthey Racing's 25th. I guess is it the collaboration has been going for 25 years, or Manthey have existed for 25 years? I don't know.
Looks good though.
But yeah, they co-own the Porsche racing team. 450 grand, a little bit pricey, but it's like basically the most hardcore variant.
Not a road car.
Not a road
Not
car.
a road car, yeah.
So remember that 935 historic throwback kind of thing? It's basically that.
Okay, fair.
It's a sort of rebodied, reworked version of that. So a cool thing, but
it's basically
a
race
lot
car.
of money. It's a race car,
Yeah,
isn't it? It's like any of these things.
Yeah.
Well, look, a little bit more car news before, because actually I sort of almost thought we could segue perfectly then into Mike talking about OEM, plus the fact that Porsche are even building things like, or bringing back Sport Classic or the ducktail. But anyway, we'll come back to that in 2 seconds because I want to get the car news out of the way in case we forget. Radford. Anyone?
Oh, I saw it last night.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You have no idea what we're talking about, do we? So Radford were a historic coach builder back in the day, made beautiful bodies on amazing cars. Jenson Button, Formula One driver.
I know that is.
Okay. And Anstead, he did Wheeler Dealers for a while, right?
Yeah, I met him a couple of years ago.
Oh, no way.
Nice guy, yeah.
Oh, okay, amazing.
Oh, yeah, I know that is.
Yeah.
I didn't know that, but I did. Oh, yeah, I know that is, yeah.
And is there one or two other guys? There's a couple of other people I think involved. Anyway, they've reawoken Radford.
Where are they based?
They're based out in California, actually.
Oh, right.
Yeah. And their first project is this kind of, it's all resto modded sort of style stuff. Is this old Lotus? Oh, well, it's not. It's a new Lotus.
Yeah.
So it's old.
It's an old, yeah. It's like a Type 62, I think, or can't remember the exact. But let me show you a picture because
it looks stunning.
Yeah, I actually think Tony, you might quite like this.
But what's it built on? Is it built on the Exige? Is it? That's it.
So this is what I was desperately trying to find out.
Looks like a GT40.
So it's got essentially they call it the Emira engine, but it's the Exige engine. It's the Toyota V6. So,
yeah.
But you can actually have a 7-speed dual clutch in it, which I think is mega.
Good.
So that's pretty impressive. But I was waiting to say, based on the outgoing Evora chassis, like I can't find that anywhere. Okay, so it's going to be a lot. I don't think they've actually talked about how much it's going to be.
I couldn't see how much it was.
I reckon over 500 grand. I reckon. They're only making 60 of them or something like that.
Oh, yeah,
So the classic Type 62-2 produces 430 horsepower in the standard form, or you can put that up to 500 horsepower in the performance figures, blah, blah. Were added by Lotus for additional downforce after track testing. We got sort of brakes. So it's supposed to be old but new. It looks just like a 70s Le Mans car. Like,
So they're buying bits from Lotus and then putting the shells on in California?
yeah, I don't really get it, and maybe I needed to see a press release or something, but like, it's kind of like, here's a thing, great, I love the thing, I don't really understand anything about it. It just looks beautiful, which I guess is what coach building is all about, right? So sort of who cares about the underpinnings? But so here we go. Designer Mark Stubbs is the other guy involved. It will remain faithful to the 1960s model, standing low, 1,133 millimeters tall, so it's like a GT40 in terms of its height. Wide wheel arches and side air intakes. And they just talk about how it looks.
Oh,
Anyway.
I'm just going to go asleep while you.
I quite like it.
I really
see it in
like
California.
it. I think it's stunning. I think it's a stunning thing, but that I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Don't worry, Tony.
If you want me awake, leave it.
Well, don't know if we do want you awake because we're going to move on to a Morgan.
Oh my god!
You must have seen this.
No.
You didn't see this +4 off-roading?
Show me a picture.
Oh my god, this
It's like a
is the
safari
best.
desert car.
Because I see stuff and I just like, oh no.
What do you mean? Oh no!
Are you joking?
This
You
is the
you're
this is
so
the best.
odd.
This is the no. This is the best thing I've ever
Was
seen.
that
in my-
made in the Cotswolds?
Yeah, it's made it there. For us. Yeah. So Morgan, apparently, there's a story behind this I love. Essentially, back in the day, Morgan there was some off-roading Morgans, like not only farmers just blatting around on their estates, but also they actually competed in off-road events. And there was some design study or case study or something like that in the design room where the designs were. And one of the shareholders was walking around on a sort of factory tour, and he saw the picture and he went, "Oh, that's cool. We should build that." And he walked out of the room and they were like, "Was he joking?"
So they built it anyway.
And then no, but then like a week later, like an email went around saying, "Yeah, no, you're building it." And they were like,
Right.
"Okay."
Okay.
What engine's in it?
It's the +4, so it's the smaller, the BMW 2
4-cylinder.
4-cylinder. I think it's a 2 litre, isn't it?
Which is a mini JCW engine.
Exactly that one. It's the mini JCW engine.
Because the 6-cylinder is the same engine as what you have in your
X3 and 40i. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
made that mistake.
Can you imagine
sometimes as
that in
well.
that?
Well, the +6 is a beast apparently. The +6 one apparently is. I still haven't driven the new
Yeah,
+6. Everyone who drives it says it's insanely fast. Fitted with the manual gearbox, and it was designed in sort of collaboration with these Dakar specialists. Now, it's not a competition car. Like this is not supposed to be. It's a bit of fun.
Is it even a car?
Half a car.
Are you joking?
I hate you so much. It is a toy, and it's a celebration of madness and Morgan, and it's just cool. Except
When you want to drive it.
well, no, it's 200 grand.
What?
I almost didn't want to tell you.
200 grand?
Yes.
How many are they making? Two.
No, very few.
One.
Hold on a sec. No, not one.
You know
They're
it's
making
made
more.
of wood. You know I could probably knock
It's
you one
not
up.
made of wood. This is the whole new CX platform. It's the whole aluminium chassis. It's the whole point of the CX platform. It's not just wood.
Aluminium's gone up in price then. 200 grand?
You're such a douchebag. Okay, hold on a sec. I'm going to find out. I'm just reading more. You know, we like to do our research on the fly on this podcast.
Flipping 200 grand.
Yeah, okay, so 200 grand, I agree, is extreme.
Extreme. Do you know how many
Yes,
cars you can buy instead of that car for 200 grand?
I do, but could any of them look as cool?
It reminds me of that aerial nomad thing.
Yes! Look at that!
Sam,
Yes.
you could get a kit car that you could make yourself for 40 grand, which looks nearly as good.
No.
No?
Yes.
Put some, yeah,
You could actually just buy
of
them.
course. Just buy a caterer and put some
But
lights
no.
on the
I do. Okay, they're building 8 cars.
Oh, good.
Several of which have already been sold. We don't anticipate the remaining cars will be without owners for very long, because I'm going to be one of them. I just love that they've done this. Yes, it's way too much money. It's stupid. It's mad. What's the point? The point is it's just cool. It's just cool. And it buys into, we've seen it early this year with that Singer off-road, whatever you'd call it. This is a car for Instagram, isn't it? This is like, we're seeing this so often.
Schmee's ordered one.
Shmee probably has
You
it.
have one, though.
Yeah.
If it's for Instagram, he's ordered one.
He's in Miami at the minute.
Is he?
I don't know how he does it. Anyway.
But they've done the right thing. We're all talking about it.
Exactly that. This is the point, right? We're seeing this more and more, and I'm so glad you're here for this episode, Mike, because we're now seeing manufacturers, I think, responding to social media, like we're responding to what is theoretically cool.
So that Lotus that was revealed, I only saw it being revealed on Instagram. That's the only place I saw pictures of it.
Officially to Radford, by the way.
Yeah, Radford, that was the word.
You know who are actually, who I think have been the masters of it over the last couple of years?
Dub Customs.
BMW.
Yeah.
BMW, mate, with these controversial front and rear ends.
I see what you're saying. And the M Performance packs and things.
Do you think they you see like a lot of leaked pictures?
Yeah.
Do you think they let them out?
Do it on purpose. Yeah, for
like
sure.
a teaser for a film.
Yeah, but it's okay. So here's what I would take with that. I think design-wise, yes, they've purposefully gone, let's go so aggressive that we create a story, get everyone talking, and then we all know that with time, there's a phrase for that.
Familiarise.
Yeah, no, but like you'll say something really
derogatory
or predatory. But spend enough time around something, eventually it starts to look attractive.
It's like me with you. Spend enough time around and they'll end up liking you.
Hopefully not too much. But so that's what I think BMW do. But we're seeing in other areas, Morgan, that Singer project, it feels like they've gone, it's like green and tan.
Yeah.
What's let's just make a car for Instagram. And in your world, Mike, I think owners have been doing it for a while, right? Like trying to enhance the look.
Yeah, I mean, what's really good for us is we do a lot of BMWs, and yet again, some of the cars, like the ones in the 2 Series, like the M2s, you can't do anything individual. You can't buy anything from BMW and I want it red or yellow. So you have to do customization. So then that works on Instagram. But what's also interesting as well is going back to people like BMW, you'll see if you go through their Instagram page, people have a wrapped car and then BMW M will share the picture.
They do, yeah.
So why are you sharing a modified car when you don't sell that? But they want the views because that's what
inspires and gets people talking. But then on the flip side of that, what about things like M Performance parts, wheels, these aggressive wings and carbon bits that are manufactured? Because I feel like manufacturers are responding now, where there was this kind of period of time, as you say, you went the max power route, then it kind of, I don't know, for me it felt like it slowed off a bit. Then people started to get back into it. You had Novatech doing crazy Ferrari conversions, Liberty Walk, things like that.
Yeah.
And then Abt or ABT. How do you say?
I say ABT, but I think it's actually Abt.
Because he's called Daniel Abt, isn't he? So yeah, but anyway. But now manufacturers are saying, what do Audi do? Audi do much? All right,
they have the exclusive range. What's the R8 they did? And you could buy all the
kit. You could put all the wing and the
that wasn't very popular. Exclusive, is it?
Maybe? They do. That. Yeah, isn't it? They do like an individual BMW.
No,
that's BMW. I think it is exclusive range. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
but we are seeing manufacturers respond now. So for you, is that a sign of the times? Is that an encouraging thing? How does that fit in with what you're seeing on your side?
It does help because it brings awareness.
Okay.
And then if you're not a true petrol head, but if you are into modifying your car, not to pop and bang map at Sainsbury's, but I mean something a bit more factory plus, it opens up the doors. And there's a lot of people that don't want what you can just buy off the shelf. It is having something a bit different, like coffee, if you like. You can go to anywhere and buy coffee from Tesco's, but sometimes the...
No, right here.
Oh, this one, yeah, this one's very good. This one here, yeah, exactly, yeah.
For those of you not watching on YouTube, Mike very kindly pointed at the wrong coffee cup.
It wasn't Costa. No. But, if you are, your enjoyment is different coffees from different brands, then it always has that. And then we do live in an Instagram world, and, these people do want followings and attention. And if you have a standard car, that doesn't get you a lot of attention. So sometimes lowering it, changing the wheels, changing what BMW got wrong, whether it's an exhaust or adding a spoiler, it does make a difference. So
have they got it wrong? Have they got it wrong? Because the problem is that they're not. Their audience isn't always about baseball caps.
No,
they've got to sell to the masses. They have to build a car for everyone.
Yeah.
So some, you get some middle-aged people or people that have saved all their life and their dream is to have a BMW M car, but they don't want it shouty and loud.
No, there is different types of options, like we sort of say. You can have loud stuff and then not so loud stuff.
Yeah.
But just to give you an idea, just before we would come down, we deal with Remus Exhaust, and I spoke to him on the way down. In the last 15 months, we sold 51 M2 rear boxes. So that's like 3.5 a week.
Are you half recognised by BMW now?
We have an association with a dealership brand called Berry, and one of their top sales guys is called Tony Lewis, TRL Deals, who basically has got a deal with us where he'll deliver a brand new M135i, and we will do a conversion out onto it. So we will lower the car, we'll add wheel spaces, we'll change the exhaust out, we'll add some gloss black styling, change the grills and that sort of stuff.
Keeping the warranty still.
Yeah, because all this sort of stuff, Remus will obviously cover the exhaust warranty.
Yeah.
So if you've got a problem with that, you pick up the phone to us. But yeah, there's no problems at all. We did on the previous 140s, we built 72 cars, and now we're up to 16 of the 135Is. So it's quite a popular thing to be done because it's finding that small gap in the market where there's not a car above it. An M2 is not a replacement for a 5-door M135i. They're two different cars.
So Tony, then on the flip side of that, how does that affect when you get cars coming in? Because when I'm shopping / browsing Auto Trader,
here we go.
Hello. I, being the idiot I am, will be attracted to a well-spec'd car or some, well-chosen modifications. I'm definitely going to avoid the chrome-wrapped, spinning rims, flame-throwing Paul Wallace car that he's trying to sell. But I think, but when I've sold cars through you, you say, get everything off. I want it stock again.
Correct.
But is that changing? Is that still the same?
For me, no, because there's a couple of tuners that I'll kind of recognise.
Like a Litchfield GTR.
So a Litchfield GTR, I'd probably be happy to sell if something come in that he'd done, because I know it's. Or
if it was a pack, like an apt RS6R. Too much.
Yeah, because the biggest problem for me as well is that when people add all this stuff to their cars, especially like the overfinch stuff, they think their car's worth 20 grand more than the others. So it's impossible for me to buy it anyway. But if something's been tuned, as in engine remap tuned, I don't care who's tuned it. I'm not interested. Litchfield is probably an exception because they're recognised by the manufacturer now, and the warranty still covers it. But in general, like I said, if he's done something that's an exhaust or a spring kit, it's fine because that doesn't really affect the warranty.
Sure.
So me as a dealer, obviously, as you know, I have a liability when I sell a car. And if it's been remapped and tuned and it's 100 horsepower more and it's got manufacturer's warranty, the manufacturer's warranty is void. So at which point I'm wearing the shirt. Yeah. If it goes wrong, I'm wearing it. So I stay away from them for that reason.
But so I'll jump in because Mike, I'm sure you have something on that. But what I've then found, so the resale value of some of these components and parts has actually been quite strong for me. So the McLaren I had, but you sold. I put Novatec side skirts on it, a Larini exhaust, and I wrapped it. So the wrap on and off, fine, that was my cost. The side skirts, I think we left the side skirts on, didn't we? I think we left the Novatec side skirts on when we sold that car.
Yeah.
They were carbon side skirts, very nice, but they added to the look of the car. They looked like a 570S side skirt.
Yeah.
And the Larini exhaust we took off and sold, and I basically got my money back.
That happens a lot.
So I think you have to basically be clever about how you're doing it, right? Or think about what your end goal is, because there are certain modifications which are going to transform the car beyond return. Like, if you're Liberty Walking, that's then a Liberty Walk car, right? That's your car for life, or at least it's Liberty Walk for life.
Yeah.
But so are you advising people on that? Like,
it's one of those things we do say to people, take all your old parts back with you. But I think if you're using the correct parts, you're fitting to it. You're not adding value, but you're making it seem more desirable. So if someone's reading a car list, like if you're going to look at buying an M2 and it has got something not very nice tyre-wise, but it's got Michelin's, you automatically assume that person's looked after the car because it's got Michelin's.
Yeah.
But if you go, it's got a Remus exhaust onto it, within 3 minutes you're on your phone and you can work out that's a £2,700 exhaust, whatever it may be, and the guy's left it on. If that's a mod you were going to do, then that's going to, in your head, you're saving £2,700.
If you want that, though.
That's correct. What we have seen as well is a number of cars come. We had a guy a couple of weeks ago that brought an M2 in from us, and we'd had done the exhaust originally. He was a second owner. He could actually come back in for some eyeback springs and wheel spacers, but the exhaust was kept on it, and he bought it from the dealership because the dealership knew that car would be more desirable. This is BMW as well, with it already in. And he said the original one was in the box in the boot, so the dealership just left it to the customer.
How old was the car?
Still in warranty. It's like
still had
18.
manufacturer's warranty.
Yeah, it was a competition pack.
Yeah.
So I thought what would be fun is to try and have a think of some of the cars that we've experienced or can think of or know of that can be easily transformed or most transformed with a little tweak. And so you've already been talking about how popular some of the BMWs
M2,
are.
Yeah.
M2. So like my F-Type didn't need an additional exhaust. Nothing really changed. But Giulia Quadrifoglio, a fan favourite on the channel, one of our favourite cars, we know that basically in the earlier cars, I think now it's changed, but you could only open up the exhaust fully in race with traction off.
Yeah.
But that car with a proper exhaust sounds the bomb.
Yeah.
Very quickly, there was some aftermarket people out there were selling a box that basically meant you could have the valve open at any particular time. So you weren't in race mode the whole time.
I had a car like that.
Did you?
Did you have it? Yeah, it was already done, which is great.
And same with me when I did that Mille Miglia. It was from factory, and I was like, guys, and they were like, "It's a special." It sounded, yeah. So we didn't develop and it never got released. But it was the most unbelievable sound. So that's a car for me that quite a simple modification can change and transform.
It's interesting you say that. A couple of years ago, when the M8 competition came out and they were running up at Goodwood, they were running American cars and no OPF filters in them.
So this is the biggest problem for UK as well. And when we talk about tuning and modifying, in America it's huge.
It's massive.
And it's been huge forever. In this country, it's becoming more now. But from your point of view, if you're doing exhausts, you know, these OPFs now, these new filters from 2009, I mean, it's a big thing now.
It is. We keep all the OPF filters in place. So we don't take any of that sort of stuff out.
Because then you're avoiding MOT and stuff?
And everything. Lights and dashboard,
Emissions,
MOTs, emissions in your
Okay,
car.
so you have to keep those filters in.
Some people take them out, but for us it's a no. You touched briefly on the Porsche and how well it sounded. Now they've actually had OPF filters in, they can actually make them sound better. It's that middle gap of cars where they had to just lob them in, like the M2 comps. They were halfway through its life cycle. OPF filters in place. That's why they just sounded and looked dreadful, the exhaust.
Yeah.
But now they're getting better in place and they can sort of tailor them in. So you can work with them. And now obviously all cars generally have exhaust valves. So what Remus will do, for example, is when the valve is open, it'll act like a bypass and bypass the box. So you get it loud and you press your button and you close it back off. Because a lot of these exhausts now, Porsche sports exhaust, the exhaust is the same apart from the outlet. It's all just done on the software of the button. Yeah. So basically you can just open the button. So if you have the Porsche sports exhaust on idle, you can press the button, the valve opens.
Yeah.
If you have the non one, you don't have the button, but they both close as soon as you drive, and then you hit 30 mile an hour and they open up because of different regulations for WLTP. So, there's ways around it. But the aftermarket scene, because new cars do get so muffled with, exhaust and pillows and whatever else in there to just trying to muffle all the sound out, now the fact that people like Remus will work on something that's a bit better, or Acra or something like that, it is interesting. But I also think it's a little bit naughty that a manufacturer will bring a car from America to sound better to try and sell you some.
Welcome to the world of press.
This
has been going on. And Chris Harris famously fell out with Ferrari about this because he drew attention to it. He talked about the fact that Ferrari press cars were turned up to 12 and they weren't anything close to a production car.
So,
and so that journalists would, sing.
But they're all at it, mate.
And I have to say, McLaren, whilst they've been fantastic with the last few months, they definitely, I've driven a few McLarens that feel a lot spicier than the road cars.
Because didn't you drive the Aston Martins?
Yeah, the American
cars, and they sounded lovely.
To be fair, though, that was because they were planning to do the launch in California, and then because of COVID, it got cancelled, and the only cars they built at that point were American. So they did very much, but it sounded great. So you just have to be aware of that now. I think there's a difference between OPF filter versus non and slightly spiced up cars
of course.
Don't make it. But okay, so I'm going to pick up on one you said, GT4. That's another car that I would say the modern 718 GT4 transformed with only needs an exhaust.
That's all it needs.
All it needs, and suddenly that brings that car to life.
Yeah, I agree.
So come on, Tony. Think what other cars out there with a simple mod can be reawoken?
I did Nissan GTR.
Oh yeah, okay, fine. Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
But also visuals, right? Because GTRs, they look good, but boy, can they look mega with a few tweaks here and there.
Yeah.
They can be ruined as well.
Yeah, mostly ruined.
I'm going to flip on that then and say Golf R. Same thing.
Well, I was going to say S3.
Okay.
Same.
So what's interesting on the Golf R, you could actually buy them out the factory with a Akrapovic rear sports exhaust. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, I can say Akrapovic.
Does anybody know?
Akrapovic, yeah.
Akrapovic. Let's go with that. But
because you could buy that as a sports rear box from the dealership, and then like Seat now doing the apt stuff, aren't they?
Cupra, not Seat.
Well done.
Feet in the bar.
Well rescued, Tony. Love you, Cupra. Love you. If you ever want to sponsor us again, we're here.
Send a car.
But that's such an interesting move, though, isn't it? Like, so that's a brand that's, as we know, trying to do something different, trying to go their own way, trying to provide a different kind of route, and then partnering up with a sort of out there alternative modifier to present a whole. I mean, it's very cool, but is that sort of AMG, like apt dying to be bought out by?
I think there must be some kind of relationship there, because you get a lot of the dealerships that do the apt conversions on the Transporters. Don't you see them, and they ask silly money for them. But with being on the Seats, it's the same engine as what you're going to Golf GTI. Why is that trying to stop people buying a Golf? Do you want the modified people to buy the Seats and we see the modifications?
I think as well, some of these smaller companies, I think they are dying to be noticed by manufacturers in terms, especially exhausts, where, like nowadays, like I said about the audio, everything's got Bang & Olufsen or Bose it only takes a manufacturer to get hold of one of these tuners and go, right, we're not going to buy you out, but what we're going to do is that we're going to order all our exhausts from you, and it's going to be an option from factory, or we're going to do the springs, or we're going to,
Which I think Akrapovic have done right. They've kind of been rubber stamped by many manufacturers of being performance and sound, and being offered from factory as an option.
You see it on a lot of the bikes as well.
Yeah.
That happened years ago. So AC Schnitzer used to be a dealer approved bolt-on part.
Correct.
And then they took it away, thinking, "Hang on, we're losing a lot of money here." Now it's M Performance. So it's their own range.
BMW own it now, right?
Not AC Schnitzer. No, it's. From what I understand,
German, innit?
It is, but it's the guy who owns AC Schnitzer also owns one of the big BMW dealerships in Germany.
Right, fair.
So he gets to work on all the brand new stuff. But I don't think it's owned by them. But it's good stuff. But it's on par with BMW M. But BMW see this and go, hang on a minute, we will sell our own exhausts, and they sell coilover kits and everything else for all the cars and the carbon and stuff. But they put a huge premium on it, and with the internet, people can find out who they're made by.
Yeah, very quickly. Go, I'll skip that. But I mean, there are a few brands out there like a Brabus or who've made their own name. I mean, I don't know if I put Alpina in that same bracket, but the standalone, like surely, Tony, if you got a Brabus special in, sort of, I don't know what they do, special cars, but the Rocket, the Black Thunder, because they're their own cars in their own right as well, right? I mean, that's a much more highly regarded name associated with a manufacturer.
Yeah, for sure. But again, it's still a really niche market, I think, I don't really get involved in it because that Brabus is probably similar to Overfinch or something like that. I just think there's so much more money than the original car. It's got a market, but I think it's too small
for Porsche.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's just really small.
Yeah.
And Schnitzer AC Schnitzer would be the same for BMW.
Sure.
That's there. But I think it is niche.
So,
personally,
Mike, what are you seeing in terms of, because my brain goes to Novatec, Brabus, things that we just spoke about, Roof for Porsche or Tech Art, but are most of your clientele looking at M2s, C63s, things like that, or where does it sit?
I mean, a lot of our customers will look at that stuff and go, I want it to look like that, but it is a lot of money. Like you say, an Overfinch Range Rover is huge money. For very little money, you can make it look a bit like that and a bit more unique. And that's where most people are. We've got quite a decent following for a small business. And when people tend to follow us, they'll go, that's what I want my car to look like. So what's worked very well for us is like an M2. There's only 4 or 5 colours.
Yeah.
So if you've got a Long Beach blue one and you wanted to know what it looks like lowered and exhaust, I could send you 95 pictures if you like. And that helps. But then when you obviously have a M4, it's always tricky because there's so many different colours. It's a little bit trickier to sort of envisage what it looks like. So yeah, it's definitely growing. New cars, like you say, with the OPF filters, also with the wheels and the wheel arch. The reason why I don't have that stance is some parts in the world, they have to physically run a snow chain. So a snow chain is obviously taller and sticks out. We don't have to have them here, so hence why you can just drop it down a little bit and then put a spacer on it. And Porsche have been doing this for ages. You can buy wheel spacers from Porsche. And it's a nice aftermarket add-on. So people will see that, and then it does translate. And yet again, going back to the whole Instagram thing, if you put a picture of your car up and it's fairly standard, people have already seen it a million times. And we all know that Instagram is all about being liked and good or bad, whichever it is. It's, sometimes something different will certainly stand out from the crowd. Like when we did Paul's car and he wrapped it green, we only lowered and put the exhaust and we didn't wrap it. I think you know that. It got a lot more of attention because if it's just a black one, it's just a black one.
But are you seeing that Are you seeing that more in that kind of what I'd call middle market, or the sort of 50 to 75 grand than up on the high end? Because
Completely.
I think it's becoming more popular to modify Ferraris, Lambos, Porsches, but now that they are doing that in-house with PTS, Ad Personam, TaylorMade, etc., I feel like it's almost stepping away again. Like there was a time maybe 5-6 years ago where people were starting to embrace in the UK modifying supercars.
Yeah, like you say, that sort of middle bracket, if you like, going from Golf GTI up to C63, AMG, that sort of stuff, that's definitely a market. And it is the market where they don't offer the individual stuff, because if you can modify it from the dealership and you can add all this on, then great. But then, like I sort of said earlier on, people do worry. They don't want to see the same as what the next guy's got. It is all about being a bit different. And that's our biggest market. Things like the new M135i, it looks the same as a 118i. If you're not careful, you don't know what you're looking for. So to make it look a bit more of an M light car, not an actual M car, you know, it's a good thing to do, and to have something a bit different.
Tony, apart from vinyl wrapping, what's the biggest modification you've ever done to one of your cars?
No, that's it.
Have you ever done an exhaust?
No.
Lowered one, spacers,
I did when I was a kid,
wheels.
mate.
That's what I'm asking though.
Yeah, I did. But I tuned. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
When I was a kid,
neon
like,
lights and everything.
Not Leon's, but
Leon's.
Not
Say it
Leon's. I tuned 205 GTI.
To what? 600 brake?
To put an MI16 engine.
So
in
to
it.
it from the 405.
Yeah.
Go on.
Blew it up. But yeah, and then I tuned my Nissan GTR Pulsar and done the synchros in the gearbox. I had a really highly tuned Renault 5 Turbo with a boost valve that I used to turn the turbo up.
Did it stop starting when it was a hot day?
Yeah. It wouldn't start on a hot day.
Do you know why that is? It evaporates the fuel in the carburetor.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
And then it'd just overheat because the head gaskets would go. But then we used to put different head gaskets, because back then, mate,
now I know why you don't like
cars
old
were
cars.
terrible.
Yeah.
Mate, they were honestly, you'd get a car and modifying it would actually make it
would
better.
kill it.
Yeah.
Make it better. Sorry, make it better.
Make it better because the head gaskets on them cars were honestly terrible. But nowadays, me personally, the modern cars are so good. By modifying them, you're making them worse.
Sure, because they're spending hundreds of millions doing that R&D.
Yeah. And Escort
RS Turbo.
RS turbos. Yeah.
I'd love to see you in the modified scene.
Yeah, mate. Honestly, I done it all.
How times have changed.
No shot. Yeah, but this is why, because I done it all, and
Yeah. But also, I think you've hit the nail on the head a little bit, where now it's sound and aesthetics seem to be taking the lead, right? Okay, yes, in America, you're totally right. And we've got a couple of listeners with amazing cars with well over 1,000 horsepower. You know who you are. But I think in the UK, Mike, you're right. It's that emphasis on having a car that looks good on your driveway, on the street, or on Instagram, sounds good. People aren't always chasing turbocharged, or what's Paul was talking about, supercharged Hurricanes and things like
he's
that.
deluded.
Happens a lot, but yeah, again, I think that's
don't
just
happen
all
so
for
much in the
Instagram.
UK though, is it?
Happening, but maybe more aware of it because it's on Instagram.
Okay,
but that's
but it's been in America forever.
Oh, been in America forever.
But
here I feel like that people are chasing the perfect looking and sounding car, not necessarily work on the performance, because as you're right, most stuff works pretty well. You might want to tune a little bit more power out. You might want to unleash 50 or 60 more horsepower, something like that. But not many people here in the UK are doing, as you say, these mad conversions. Gaz with his 1,200 horsepower 765 LT who keeps messaging us.
Really?
Yeah, he's like, I just sold my 1,100 horsepower. I'm getting a 1,200. You're a madman.
Did he do it for drag times?
I don't know. No, I think he does it for fun. He's insane.
Who is that?
He's one of our listeners. Absolute top bloke. He sent in when we were doing the Rate My Rides. He had which one did he send in? He had a very nice green 600 LT, and then he had a highly MSO'd 765. Anyway, they're tuned to over 1,000, well over 1,000 horsepower. He just uploads clips of just driving around the street. He's insane. Legend. Anyway, moving on.
I would be so nervous with 1,200 horsepower.
In a McLaren.
X5.
Oh, that's a fireball. But okay, so wait, to come back, because I wanted to round off on this. Let's just think of one or two other cars. Okay, Mike, I'm going to let you pick cars that you've worked on that you think have been transformed very well by what you've done. But Tony, one more car which you think can benefit well from a slight modification. Visual, sound, I don't mind what it is.
Oh my God.
Come on, I'm going to put you on the spot. Yeah. Putting you on the spot. We've done Julia, we've done Golf R. We've done GT4.
Nissan GTR.
We've done.
What you got in stock?
Yeah, what you got in stock? Such a good question.
New Supra.
Well played, sir.
Interesting car. Big fan. Had a couple in the door, but there's no real UK audience for them. People buy them, but we do a lovely exhaust for them. We do a lovely set of springs for them, but just
you would for BMW.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's a good point though. And we spoke about this before. They're so underappreciated, I guess you could say, but
overlooked.
They're brilliant cars.
Yeah, I still haven't driven one. Cool little thing. And you're right, you can go crazy on the mods.
Big time on those, yeah.
And you probably still can on the more modern Subaru Mitsubishi stuff. Like, that's not doing...
You know what else people do?
Go on.
Oddly, the car that you've got, mate, your X3.
Oh, okay. So that was going to be my final question from today.
They tune them, but I'll tell you, the one up from that, the X3 competition, they make them 650 horsepower of a tune.
Before Mike left, I was going to basically force him to agree to doing a load of stuff on my car for free. So you've now got to that point in the podcast, so I'll just jump on it now. What does Motech do for the X3, Mike? What?
We do quite a bit, actually. Yeah. X3M and X4M competition is quite an interesting one. So I don't know if you've ever driven one, but they are really hard in the UK.
This is why I'm so glad I made the decision. Not that I was ever really looking at the competition, but yeah, very stiff.
We do a set of springs, which is 12% softer on the front and 5% on the rear. So the car is lower because they're a progressive rate spring, but it actually makes it more compliant for the UK. Fair. It's a really popular spring.
But let's go back to the M40i.
Okay, yeah. We can do bits for that, yeah.
There's nothing they can do with that.
Because you know what? I'm doing a video on it soon. It's coming out in a couple of weeks on the main channel, which it's been over 12 months now I've had that car. It is possibly the best car I've ever owned, but the most boring. As in, like, it is fantastic, that car, and Vicky adores it, and it's basically Twiggy's car. But I don't ever like get excited by it. I sit there and I go, God, this car's good. But I don't really like the spec because I didn't choose it. So it's black on black on black on black, which I'm not a fan of. I don't really like the way it looks that much. I don't like the wheels.
Has it got the funny champagne coloured grills and stuff on it?
Yes. Yeah. Champagne coloured grills. Bad wheels. The sound's all right, actually. The sound sounds okay.
The wheels are the upgrade.
I would change the colour. I would change the wheels. I don't think I would change the suspension because I think it's good. I think it's very comfortable.
It's no different.
I would change the look.
Yeah. But you'd be surprised what like a set of black grills can do for that. It's quite a popular car. We get asked. Yeah, exactly.
You couldn't cut an hole in the roof and put a pan roof in.
That's the other thing I wanted. That is the other thing I wanted.
Oh, do you remember we were speaking earlier on about things you used to find in like Halfords? You used to be able to buy sunroofs. Do you remember?
No, you did not.
Yeah.
I want to take a chain or to hacksaw.
You used to buy some sealer and seal it in.
Yeah, so you can still buy. Yeah.
Maybe that's what I do on the X. I'm really gutted mine doesn't have a pan roof.
I remember when you bought that car, you said, mate, is there anything on them that I need to really look out for? I said, yeah, make sure you buy one with a pan roof. All right, cool.
Didn't buy one with a pan roof.
Didn't buy one with a pan roof.
It had everything else. I got suckered in.
So it's got a pan roof. You went, no.
No, the guy was like, you got to move now. I was like, oh, right, okay. Here's my money. Picked it up. I was like, oh, is the pan roof under? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, we'll come back to that. So, we'll let you finish off, Mike, then. What car do you think you've done or you do continue to work on, which is, you're most amazed by the transformation?
Our bread and butter stuff is BMW. It's like an M2. Just changing the exhaust really gives that car some characteristics. I mean, I think you did that drive with Paul in Scotland.
Yes, yeah.
So we did
to
the
be fair,
exhaust on his M2 then. And, they're aggressive when the valves are open, so that's a big one. And also, I quite like lowering Teslas at the minute.
Shut up! That's not a thing.
What lowering them into a lake?
Yeah, that's one of the best things you ever said.
We did.
You're lowering Teslas?
We did 3 last week. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, but how does that?
This is another segment.
This is a whole. This is the title for my episode. Just FYI. The man who's lowering Teslas. We're going to get all the views. Tesla viewers, welcome. We're not fans of you, I'm afraid. So feel free to just absolutely abuse us. Do you know this is a whole thing on the internet, by the way? Because I will title this with a Tesla. We're going to get this Tesla community, who are the most aggressive car community online, and they will ruin us. So welcome.
Don't I have them as customers?
Oh, you've got 3.
Well, yeah.
So they've got them.
So go on.
It's interesting because people are actually not buying the performance ones; they're just buying the long range ones. And we had 3 pretty much brand new cars in, and springs and wheel spaces transform that car because they are really, really jacked up, and they're relatively easy to do. But you can download the app now, and then for £1,500, Tesla will just give you the performance upgrade. So you just press the button within 10 minutes. It's the same as the performance.
Mate, that's your market.
I know.
But some of that is quite amazing.
Yeah.
So these are Model S's that you're doing, or Model 3s?
Model 3s.
Model 3s.
Yeah. So we lower them. We put a gloss black kit on them, and they've been really popular.
Cool.
And I bet it's not loads of money either.
No.
How much is it?
With the kit lowered, spacers, about £1,400. Bearing in mind,
the
you buy the
thing is,
long
I'm trying to
range.
knock it, but I'm like, that's actually quite cool, actually. You know?
As a business, you see loads of them on the road. And yet again, with what's been very popular with, like, say, the M2, there's only 4 colours. The same with Tesla, it's only like 3 or 4 colours. So I quite like lowering them. I'm not the biggest Tesla fan, so I'm on your side with that one. But as a business, they're good to do. You know,
and
really
also, you're right that you've kind of got to embrace, like all of us, the EV market, right? Which is going to transform your business, I'm sure, for a lot, because you can't stick an exhaust on a Tesla.
No.
But there will be. No, but yeah, I was going to say, there are things that you can do.
Yeah,
like,
of course, yeah.
Was it Archie who years ago filmed the Tesla with the sound box?
We do a sound controller for them.
go,
Yeah, you can change the sounds and that sort of stuff.
I mean,
But that'll be like a stereo company that will sort that. Won't it be Harman Kardon or Bose?
Well, we do a thing called a Thor box, which lives underneath the car, and you basically plug it to the CAN bus. Yeah, that's exactly it. But you can pick different sounds for it.
I'd go so UFO.
Yeah.
Like more aggressive than a Taycan. I'd go like.
Have you heard the new ones now? When you put them in reverse, the UFO sound they make. So for 2021 car, they're quite loud in reverse. Sounds like the old Jetsons car.
So Teslas.
Yeah.
Because you have to, like, for regulations.
Yeah,
when you're at slow speed, you have to have some kind of noise. But I think that's what I'm almost excited for electric cars, is to see all the different noises that come out. Because I really want some really weird, crazy ones.
Yeah, that's a big market, coming as well. But I don't know whether the true Tesla people are going to want sound because they're buying it because they're like, the fact is quiet.
I guess. Yeah, hard to know what
they will make when we've all got to buy electric cars.
Yeah.
We won't be buying Teslas, though, will we? Stirring the pot. Just trying to get that comment section on fire. If we're going out with season 4, we've got to go out with what's called with a bang, right?
Bang, yeah.
We're just getting abused.
Teslas don't go bang.
No. Good point.
Well, they do.
Fire bang, yeah.
Stirring up. Well, look, it's been a super interesting chat. Yeah. I feel like, did we ask all the questions we wanted to ask? I think that was it, wasn't it? I've been really interested, especially since I've got into this sector. The mild modifications I've done over the years. Paul Wallace, I always give a hard time for picking the worst modification
ever. He's a chav, though.
Well, you keep saying this. I'm not sure that's politically correct anymore.
It's loud.
Loud.
If you say so.
He's a customer.
But he made the. You should stand up for him.
You can't agree.
We don't care. We don't care. But he's made a good point that I've almost modified more cars than he has, which I sort of didn't really catch on to the fact of. But yeah, it is a popular thing now. It is kind of accepted.
Manufacturers are on it. Even like the new cars now, they look like they're modified. Like the new M3 and M4 from the back.
I saw a 4 Series with this weird. They were supposed to be like canards at the front, right? I guess it's the performance kit, carbon fiber canards. It was literally, what's that? What would you call that shape?
A C shape.
A C shape.
Yeah.
Glued onto the bumper.
Yeah.
I was like, what is that? That is a disaster.
That is a disaster. That is something you would do, though. Let's be honest.
I would
modified your cars because you've had some terrible cars. Let's be honest.
Get out.
You've had some real shockers.
F-Type's nice.
F-Type was really nice. Too loud, though, mate. You never heard that car. Have you heard a Quicksilver F-Type in?
Yeah, we're a Quicksilver agent. It's a
good exhaust. Okay, so you know exactly. So when, hopefully, the next F-Type comes along, can we get the conversation started with, I want a valve system for the next one.
They can do it on your app as well.
Yeah, because when they fitted to me, they didn't have a valve back then.
No, we can
I was very aware of that.
Yeah.
I'm no longer 17 years old, so I think I need a valve now. Anyway, yeah, it's been an awesome. So thank you for coming and joining us. Really appreciate it. If people want to get in touch, I guess Motech on Instagram, Twitter, etc.
Exactly. Motech Performance UK on Instagram. Same with YouTube. We're not that interested on YouTube. And then I'll give you some information. You can put that down below as well.
Absolutely, I'll do all of that. And as I say, I'll speak to you very shortly about my X3, and people, you can see more about that soon. But yeah, that is the end of season 4. I mean, what a season it's been. 38 episodes, I think we've done, Tony, which has been it's been a good run for us. Lockdown's been kind of behind the glass. But don't worry, this is not the end of our consistency. We are just taking a short break. There will be some content being uploaded over the next few weeks, basically highlight clips of season 4, because there have been so many amazing moments. So it's not going to be completely dead or quiet. The channel, we are uploading some highlights in case you missed some episodes. So yes, if you want to listen to full 45-minute, hour-long episodes whilst we're away, go back and check ones that you might have missed. Even season 1s, 2 and 3. I interviewed Lenny the Geezer.
Yeah.
We had TG on back in the day. I did one with JWW. We had Shmi on this season. So loads of interesting guests. So yeah, please go back and check that out. So we will be back with you the week commencing the 6th of September with our first episode of season 5. Wow, look at us go.
Oh, no, unbelievable.
If we were in the 90s, we'd be releasing box sets. But we
and have hair.
Yeah. I'm not sure I had hair in the 90s. But yeah, if you want to follow Tony during our short summer break, he's at Tony Gravelwood Car Sales on most social media platforms. I'm at Seen Through Glass on most social media platforms. Nearly nailed that one. And yes, the same, Mike, we've already talked about where people can find you. So yeah, everyone, enjoy your summer. and we'll see you in September.
ya.
Bye-bye.